What's up, losers? Coming off my Top Gun video, I said, I wonder what I should do next. And so I thought, why not check multiple things off my list? So what I'm doing in this video is I'm gonna watch one movie a day for a week. And not just any movie, a randomly selected movie. Wow, crazy, I know. So what I've done is, I've gone to my Letterboxd, and this channel at some point in life will be sponsored by Letterboxd. Just watch, just wait. Looked at my curated watch list. By curated, I mean curated by me. Typed in every single movie on my watch list that I'm capable of watching. There are a few on there that aren't out yet that I couldn't add, but I have everything on there. Foreign films, multiple platforms, movies that I'll have to look up on 123 Movies if they get chosen. I have filled it in. I think there was like 67 entries. There were 60 something entries, which is more and less than what I expected somehow. I've done that. I'm gonna spin the wheel every day for 7 days, and we're just gonna check some movies off my watch list, and I'll give you my thoughts, give you my feelings. So I've actually spun the wheel for the first time today already, and I've gotten Fantastic Mr. Fox, which I'm super stoked about. It's a movie I'm in the mood to watch. I've been meaning to watch all Wes Anderson films anyways. Potentially we'll do a Wes Anderson video, ranking them, watching all the ones I haven't seen, because I've only actually seen 2 before this. And I've heard such good things about Fantastic Mr. Fox. Today is a Wednesday. I also don't want to talk about how I'm starting this in the middle of the week. Okay, Monday was 4th of July. I had to drive back to town. Fantastic Mr. Fox today. If you don't know anything about Fantastic Mr. Fox, here's what I know. When it first came out, this is before I was interested in film as much as I am now, I guess. Like, I was gonna say as much, I was gonna say it was before I was interested in film, but I've kind of always been. It was before I had even started watching movies as I heard of Fantastic Mr. Fox before I was like watching movies as religiously as I am now. And I remember thinking it looked bad. This is before I knew who Wes Anderson was. I am scarred by, I know this is like so unrelated, but I'm scarred by like Wallace and Gromit movies. They're both stop motion, but Wallace and Gromit movies gave me nightmares growing up. I really hated them. So any like stop motion-y stuff I was like not a fan of. I was like immediately icked out by it. I'm 22. I almost forgot how old I was for a second. I'm 22. So George Clooney being the star of this didn't have a huge appeal to me because I'm just like a little too young to have been in like his era of being like Hollywood crush, I guess. So that wasn't a huge appeal to me. I didn't know who Wes Anderson was, didn't like stop motion, so you can see why I didn't like it. Now I've heard so much good shit about it. I do know who Wes Anderson is now, and I'm being so rude. If you don't know who Wes Anderson is, he's known for having like a distinct type of film style. He does a lot of monochromatic stuff. He does a lot of symmetry within his movies, and they're really like fantastical. They're like not realistic. The ones I have seen are Moonrise Kingdom was the first Wes Anderson I saw, which I loved. It was really, really good. And then the second one I've seen was The French Dispatch, and it was good, but like so pretentious, and I'm not a huge fan of like non-linear plots in that form. It was like almost like a short story collection in film. Anyways, I digress. This isn't about Fantastic Mr. Fox. But now that I know who Wes Anderson is, and I am less scared of Wallace and Gromit, I'm willing to watch Fantastic Mr. Fox. And I have, by me, I mean my brother has a Disney Plus subscription, so I have a way of watching it without having to pay anything. So that's a good start as well. I think I've talked long enough. So day 1, Fantastic Mr. Fox. We'll also get to see how I deteriorate throughout this video. We'll see how my week's going. Okay, I'm done talking now, sorry. I'll see you either during or after Fantastic Mr. Fox. Goodbye. One check-in so far. I don't actually know how far I am, maybe half an hour. But I didn't look up the cast before watching this, because I know Wes Anderson casts are like always really iconic. I knew it was George Clooney, but I'm pretty sure Mr. Bean, I think it might be the guy who plays Dumbledore in the later movies. And then I think the cousin Christopherson, I think his name is. I think it might be Jesse Eisenberg, but I also don't know this for sure. I'm not gonna look it up until I'm done watching the movie. I also think it's funny that they say cuss instead of swearing, because I think as a child I wouldn't have picked up on that, but as an adult it's really funny to me that they say cuss instead of the swear word. Anyways, I'll talk more later. That's all I feel like sharing right now. Hi! So it's been like half an hour later. I think this movie's almost over actually, but I've just realized who I think Ash is. I think he is Justin Timberlake. And this is either going to be really funny because I'm super off, or no one's going to care because I'm right. But this has been a fun game anyways, guessing. Okay, hey guys. Hopefully I'm in focus. Sorry for the foot scare there. It is approximately 9:58 and I finished the movie. So many thoughts, so many things. My initial thought is, well, first of all, I got not all, but I got most of my casting thoughts wrong, my casting guesses. It was in fact not Justin Timberlake. It was in fact not Jesse Eisenberg. I was so convinced, and I literally was like, oh my gosh, they worked on this together, they worked on The Social Network together, how crazy. And then literally neither of them are in this movie. So sorry, scratch that, but I was right about Dumbledore. I believe his name is Michael Gambon. I'm going with Michael Gambon. I think that's his name. He is Mr. Bean, or whatever that guy's name was. The reason I know all this is because I watched the credits. I'm a major credit watcher. That was kind of dramatic. But I feel like nobody watches the credits, and I'm such a big fan of the credits for multiple reasons that I'm sure no one cares about. So I'll say this quickly. One, because I think it's great to give credit to those who worked on this film, on any film, because that is not easy, and often the only people who really get the credit are the actors or the director, or like maybe for a minute minute at the Oscars people get recognized. Anyway, so I like credits for that reason. The second reason I like it is for all the hidden gems. Like, I know the example that I always think of is in Moana. In the credits they list all the babies that were like born during the filming of the movie, or in like How to Train Your Dragon, each of the like categories of the crew in the cast were animated differently. They like had their own little animations of something that like related to How to Train Your Dragon, so it was like kind of Viking stylish, but it had something to do with like the department. I can't remember an example, but maybe I can find one on Google and put it in here. Anyway, so I'm just a huge credit person. So that's how I found out who the actors were. The other thing is, obviously this is directed by Wes Anderson, I've said that a few times, but I didn't realize it was also written by Noah Baumbach, which is crazy to me. That really blew my mind, because the reason I care about Noah Baumbach is not because of the man himself, ironically, but because his wife is my favorite director, Greta Gerwig. So the fact that he was part of this is so cool. He is a really good director too. You might know him from Marriage Story. He's also been nominated for Oscars, blah, 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 blah. But that was so crazy. I can't believe Noah Baumbach was on this. Other people that were in this that I did not realize. Willem Dafoe, which makes sense. He is often in Wes Anderson movies. Owen Wilson was in it. I'm trying to think if there's any more regulars. Bill Murray was in it. He's in a bunch. My overall thoughts on the movie. Sorry, I just talk and talk and talk. This is what it's like being friends with me. It's just 80% of our conversations is going to be about movies, and the 20% are going to be about random shit I thought about in the shower. As I was saying, overall thoughts on the movie. It was good, and it also had the most major Wes Anderson vibes. It was so cool to see, or interesting I should say, to see Wes Anderson's like iconic, I guess, direction, both cinematography and blocking, blah blah blah, film words, all the symmetry and the monochromaticness. I will say the look of the characters, like Mr. Fox and any of the wild creatures, was like kind of terrifying to me. I guess maybe it was justified to be scared of Wallace and Gromit, which I shouldn't even say. I definitely is justified. That shit is terrifying. They're kind of creepy. Like, I did not find them like attractive in any form. I don't know. I guess you're really not supposed to. They're animals, but like they're also supposed to be like human-like. I didn't like it as much as I could have. Like Moonrise Kingdom, I definitely like more than this. I think I probably like this more than The French Dispatch though, but it feels so weird comparing these. Like they're all Wes Anderson vibes, but they're all such different narratives. Blah 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 blah. There are more Wes Anderson movies on the wheel right now on my Letterboxd watch list, so potential for more Wes Anderson movies in this video. Who knows? Not me. That'd be kind of crazy though. I'm thinking of giving this a 3, and I don't know. I'm so tired. I guess I've talked for 8 minutes. Jesus. Someone's got to cut me off one of these times. That's all I have to say. Day 1 Dunsky. Ew, that was like almost a dab. Excuse me. Hey guys, I'm back from work. I'm sweaty. I'm tired. I just worked 10 hours. It's a long day. And I'm about to spin my wheel with you present during the wheel spin. And if I don't get a good movie, if I don't get a movie I'm in the mood to watch tonight, I will be slightly upset. I won't actually be like devastated as I've dramatically been setting up, but I really hope it's a good one. The Wheel of Wow.
The Wheel of Wow.
Let's spin. Oons, 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 oons. Hotel Mumbai. Honestly, I can't be too mad. Let me stop. Oh shit, I forgot to record my screen. Okay, well you just watched me do that, kind of. So what you didn't see in the video, I just didn't record. Hotel Mumbai is interesting. Let's go over what I know. I remember seeing ads, like internet ads. Like I would go on fucking thesaurus while I was writing an essay and I'd get a Hotel Mumbai ad. I maybe got YouTube ads. I don't remember, like the reason I'm saying this is I don't really remember there being a lot of press for this movie, or maybe I'm just not the target audience for this, but I don't remember like seeing a whole lot. But I'm pretty sure I saw an ad for this right after I rewatched Slumdog Millionaire, and Dev Patel is in this movie. I just remember the cast being really stacked. I'm pretty sure Armie Hammer is in it, and this was also during my Call Me By Your Name phase, which I call it a phase, but I'm currently still existing in it. And I don't know if I'll ever not be existing in it, but I digress. This was before the whole Armie Hammer is a cannibal type beat, and I'm blanking on a single other person who was in this movie, and I also don't remember the plot or what I thought the plot was about. I know it's something in the desert. It's like a really sandy movie poster and all that, but I am going in relatively blind. I think I primarily added this just because I liked the majority of the ensemble cast. That's about it. That's all I know, but I'm not mad about it. I remember really wanting to see it. That's where I am. Hugs and kisses. Hi! Hopefully you can't hear the political ads playing too loudly behind me. So it turns out this movie's on Hulu. I'm starting this way too fucking late. I have to get up early for work. It is already almost 10 o'clock. I didn't even check how long this movie is. But it's about to begin. I'll check in with you in a bit. Okay, we're back with the super bright flash. So I'm approximately 8.5 minutes in. I'm actually getting good vibes from this so far. So it's giving Money Heist. It's giving La Casa de Papel. I'm worried it might be a terrorist attack because it opens with like a group of boys like having headsets on, listening to somebody like saying kind of sketch things like, you guys are my sons. You guys are the best. You deserve to be here. Look what all these people took from you. And then they like separated into taxis and they're all going to like big locations. So, and it said this is based on true events. So I'm assuming there's going to be a bit of a hostage situation. We were just introduced to Armie Hammer. We've seen Dev Patel already. He works at the hotel. I kind of somehow in the first 8 minutes of watching this forgot that Armie Hammer was in here. I don't know how I forgot. I guess I got quite immersed. And then they were talking about a VIP guest showing up, and most people in this cast are Indian. And then they're like, oh, she blah 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 is coming. Prabha, I believe her name is Prabha. She's married to an American. And then it showed Armie Hammer, and I was like, why? I wonder who the American is. I totally forgot that it was going to be Armie Hammer. Why did Armie Hammer have to be in this? Maybe I'll find out. But hi. So I'm checking in already because I didn't realize when watching this movie I was going to get hit with ads, but they're hitting me with the ads. And so literally the worst fucking time. As I said before, they were splitting up to the train station, to the hotel, to everything. We see two of the original guys go into the bathroom of the train station and pull out guns. So as they start shooting, it cuts to the loudest ad on TV. And I'm like, bro, you could not get worse timing. Bro, they did it again. Like, literally the most traumatizing thing I've ever seen occurs on the TV, and they're like, you know what, this is a good time for a telephone ad. That seems like it fits the vibe perfectly. Like, you could not pick a worse time to play these ads. It's like, read the fucking room. Okay, hi guys. Hopefully I'm in focus. So I know I kind of stopped giving updates pretty early last night, but wait a minute. This movie was very much not what I expected. I like don't even know how to, it's kind of just weird. So as I said earlier, the reason I wanted to watch this movie was because of the ensemble cast. So sorry, my window's open right now and I'm not shutting it. It adds ambiance. Another actor I couldn't remember, and it was I keep wanting to call him Oscar Isaacs. I believe his name is Isaac Lucas or Lucas Isaacs. I think it's Lucas Isaacs, but when you have two first names, it's hard to remember. Hey guys, I'm gonna say this really quick because my computer's super mad at me that I have no space on it. Like, I'm out of room. Don't even know how I'm gonna export this video right now. Problem for later. I just want to say, his name is Jason Isaacs. There's no Lucas Isaac. Lucas, I don't know where the fuck Lucas came from. His name is Jason Isaacs. So sorry, King. So anyways, he plays Lucius Malfoy. That's like what most people are going to recognize him from. And weirdly, he plays a Russian in this movie when he's British in real life. And it's like, considering I just watched Stranger Things and got a lot of exposure to Russians, is weird. And it wasn't convincing to me. And I'm more experienced with Russia than most. And I'm gonna mysteriously leave it at that. I went in blind because I think that's kind of fun. I almost prefer that with every form of media I consume, going in like relatively blind. Like when I read a book, I never read the blurb on the back. I want to know as little as possible, otherwise it's not going to be as good for me. So sorry, the birds are being really loud right now, so I do apologize for that. The movie is about, I know I talked about this a little bit earlier while I was watching it, about a terrorist attack that occurs in Mumbai. So it's based off true events of the terrorist attacks that occurred in Mumbai in 2008. So in 2008, I was 8 years old. So I didn't know about this. I have never heard of it before because I was just too young and I'm from the States, so I guess it wasn't like as big as like say 9/11 was, which I was 1, but you still hear about that all the time in the US, I should say. This movie, I know I'm taking so long to say this, but was so horrific. Like, it's not like visually or narratively, none of it is boring, but also like the way it's told is so unnecessary to me, because it's very popular obviously to make movies based off of like traumatic events. We have the Boston bombing movie, we have 9/11 movies, we have all these movies that are based off trauma and real life events. But I feel like they always add something where you're following a character or a few characters. You care for these characters and you care about their story and what they're going through in the subtext of this event. Whereas this is such a large ensemble cast. I can think of 5, 6, like 7 characters, not including the terrorists, that you follow the entire time. And the terrorist attacks begin almost immediately, to the point where you don't actually have time to get to know the characters. Anyways, I haven't even told you the plot of this movie. It starts with like a terrorist attack occurring on a train station, followed by an ad, and then the second terrorist attack, I believe this one happened at the restaurant, like kind of a random restaurant, I don't think they like really said where it was, followed by another ad. So after these huge terrorist attacks, then they played ads, and they didn't play ads for the whole rest of the movie, okay? So it felt very icky to only play ads during violence where you're like terrified. Like this whole time watching this movie, I was like scared. Like, 1, I don't think advertisers would want that, and 2, to never do it again was weird. I will say, I truly believe this is the scariest movie I've ever watched. Not in like this movie is like a horror movie like you would think of conventionally, like The Conjuring or, I don't know, Paranormal Activity, I guess. But in that, it's just pure terror for the whole entire movie, and it's a long movie. It's over 2 hours. This has been a really long review of this movie. I didn't intend to talk for as long as I have, but I gave it a 1 star on Letterboxd. The reviews on Letterboxd were very, very polarized. There was either a lot of 4.5 stars, close to 5, and a lot of like 1.5 or lower stars. Like very few like 3 or 4s, I noticed. I don't think we needed it because it's not like we aren't constantly being reminded of stuff like this. I also saw a Letterboxd review that talked about how, I thought it was really interesting. I think it might be the top review. This guy was talking about how many movies he watches, and that this was the first movie he ever walked out of, and it was because it was too traumatic for his partner. And he also talked about how, I believe it's called Christchurch shooting, occurred, I believe, the day after he went and saw this. Also an example of what I'm saying, when we maybe don't need as many movies about this because many exist, and also like Christchurch events occur in real life now. Like, we're being reminded about them all the time. Anyways, who wants to spin the wheel? Alright guys, so I have my computer. I realize my energy is like right down here right now, but that's for 2 reasons. 1, because this movie was a mad bummer. Also, I was scared to go to sleep last night because this movie is so terrifying. So like, I didn't sleep well, okay? I also didn't go to bed on time. Spinning this dumb wheel. I hope it gives me something happy. Alright, here we go. Spin that wheel. It's spinning, it's spinning, it's spinning, it's spinning. Ooh! Ooh, The Dreamers. When I think of The Dreamers, I think of Pinterest. This is a very Pinteresty movie. I think that's where I heard of this movie. Often, I know there's like a scene where they're running, and there's a quote on top of them running that I see on Pinterest a lot. I also think this movie is dark academia vibes, which is super up my alley. That's super my aesthetic. So this could be good. I'm not sure where I can watch this, so I'll have to look into that. So we'll see. I've prattled on long enough. I will leave you, and I'll check in with you when I begin watching The Dreamers. Hugs and kisses. Hi guys. Oh my god. I watched the whole movie and I didn't update you once. For multiple reasons. I'm literally not gonna open my eyes. This is so fucking bright. How can I prove I watched the movie at midnight? I didn't take a flash video. And I've also not edited any of these videos so far, so this could like totally not even like show me and I'd have no idea, and yeah, I'm still doing it. Nobody told me how unhinged that movie is. Pinterest didn't warn me. I just read the reviews. A lot of people really fucking liked it. The reviews are polarized again. I give it 2 stars, and oh my god, I'll talk to you about it tomorrow morning. This was supposed to be a fun week of watching films, and I've gotten 2 slightly niche, sorry, my eyes are watering so bad. I've gotten like slightly 2 niche films that are like unhinged in a row. So anyways, I'm gonna go. Goodbye. Hey guys. So it's the next day. Oh, it's like I feel the same as yesterday. I'm like, God, how do I start talking about this movie? I watched The Dreamers yesterday. What I know is from Pinterest. I'll put some of these on the screen. So there's just like a lot of quotable lines from this movie. The general premise is it's about an American who goes to live in France for like a year or whatever to study French. There's a dog barking. And he meets 2 French people that are like his age, and the way they meet is they're often going to, I believe they call it the Cinematheque, so like the movie theater basically. And they're all people who like sit in the front row because they're like enraptured by the film they're watching. And a lot of it is like Charlie Chaplin-esque black and white films. This movie is based in the 60s, I believe. The part where they run through, I'm not exactly sure if it's the Louvre or I'm so stupid. I don't know. But it's like a really nice museum. So I thought like the whole premise of the movie was gonna be like dark academia, film shit, studying French, you know, being a bit pretentious, and that's super my vibe. But that's like not at all what this movie is about. So it is like a lot about like film, but it's all wrapped in like erotica, which I didn't realize. There's full nudity in this movie like all the time. There's incestual stuff, which no one told me about. The whole thing is about brother and sister having like a relationship, and then the American basically like being okay with it, and like they're all kind of in a co-relationship. So anyways, it's aesthetically very pleasing, but the content itself is impossible to get by, at least for me. This movie was again super polarized and no mention of the content. And one person did say something about it, something about the incest, and they were like, and the comments underneath it were like, you're so brave for this because no other review is talking about it. And it's true, a lot of the reviews aren't talking about it. It was just too much for me to get past, so I think I gave it 2 stars because so I did have to bootleg this version, and they didn't put subtitles for the French part, and like I'd say a fourth of this movie was in French, and I didn't have French subtitles, so the French part was literally like what it would be like if I was in France, which I was just in France, and that's exactly what it was like. So that was really interesting. I kind of enjoyed it though because I'm a subtitle girly, and I've never done that before. A weird 2 days. Let's just spin the wheel. Like no one can be blamed but me. This was on my watch list. Okay, we're gonna spin anyways. Ready? Spin, 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 spin. Oh, I thought it was gonna be Nomadland, but it is Malcolm and Marie. So what I know about Malcolm and Marie, I'm pretty sure it's a black and white film, but it's like probably 2 years old or something like that. It came out quite recently. I know it's on Netflix. It's Zendaya, and then the guy who was in Tenet, I'm pretty sure that's the same guy. And I think it's about like I'm not sure about physically, but I think an emotionally abusive relationship. So I know this has a lot of sexual content in it too. So I will watch that at some point today. I don't know, I'll let you know how it goes. This has been such an interesting video so far. Day 4, let's get it. Hey guys, so I have watched Malcolm and Marie. Again, I got minimal clips because I keep choosing intense narratives, I guess. I keep choosing ones that are like very in-depth, very like raw. I actually liked Malcolm and Marie quite a bit. It was different than I expected. I know I said that I thought there was like some sexual stuff, and there is like a little, but really it's quite tame, I guess is a word for it. Like none of it is too intense. And there's no nudity in it or anything either. But I did quite like it. It's just like not for the faint of heart in that it's just a movie of monologues. It's like 2 hours of monologues with like interdispersed dialogue where they both speak, but it's literally speeches. So it's black and white. I didn't realize, but it's the guy who directs Euphoria, so it's like it makes sense that he directed it because he works with Zendaya on Euphoria. Sam Levinson is his name. There's a lot to say, I guess, about Sam Levinson directing it. I read the Letterboxd reviews, as I always do, and there's a lot of discussion on how Sam Levinson is a nepotism baby. And if you don't know what nepotism means, it means like a child that comes from wealth. I don't know if it particularly refers to the entertainment industry, but that's often where I always hear the word. So it's like someone whose parents were in the industry in some form. So it can be a director or it can be a producer. It's just someone who has sway in the industry, and that's how they get their foot in the door, is by their parents being already in the industry. So Sam Levinson is a nepotism baby. A lot of people were talking about how this movie, so let me just say, the movie is about Malcolm and Marie. So Marie is Zendaya and Malcolm is John David Washington. So it's about their relationship. Malcolm is a movie director they're coming home from his premiere of a movie, and it's gotten good reviews. And so the reason they begin arguing is that he forgets to thank Marie, Zendaya, in his like speech before the movie, and she's upset about that, but you end up finding out that that's really layered, and there's past incidents between them that relate to him not thanking her. Important plot about race and discussing race and filmmaking and race, which I do think is super prevalent and something I'm very interested in, because it is such a good point on how we talk about race within movies and who can talk about race and what is okay to talk about, and when we need to apply a racial lens to movies. You know, is it insufferable to do it all the time, or is it necessary to do it all the time? So I think there's a lot that can be discussed there, but people discussed on how it's interesting that Sam Levinson is the one to direct this movie on race, considering he's a white man. Like, why is he the one having this discussion and directing these black actors? So I think that whole thing muddies the waters on how we think and discuss this movie. I think the acting was really well done. I will watch anything Zendaya is in. The whole movie, I think, is like choosing whose side you're on, because Marie hits with a really good argument and then Malcolm will counter it and you're like, oh shit, he's right, and then Marie will come back with something and you're like, oh crap, she's right. And I just don't think there's a clear correct person in this movie. So it's really interesting in that part. I gave it 3 stars personally. The other thing I thought was really interesting is I saw La Roche does the styling, and I thought that was really cool because I know Zendaya and La Roche work together all the time, like constantly, so it was really cool to see them collaborate in an actual film versus like a red carpet or something like that. It was a good movie. Do I recommend it? I think I recommend it to like film buffs or people who want to discuss film, because there's a lot to discuss. But I think if you're watching it casually, it's like it's just conversation. It's like a nothing happens movie, you know, where like there isn't like a whole lot of plot. The plot is just characters living life or discussing stuff. While we're here, what do you say we spin the wheel? Spin, 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 spin. Ooh, interesting. Sound of Metal. This is also another Oscar-nominated film. I believe it won some. I think it was nominated for Best Picture. I could be wrong. My battery's gonna die. I need to charge my battery. Anyways, so I'm really excited to watch this one. I feel like I'm gonna cry. I know it's about drumming in some sense, and about a man like losing his hearing. I know it has something to do with being deaf. I believe he's losing his hearing. My battery is scaring me because it is flashing. Anyways, Sound of Metal. I'll let you know how it goes. Day 5. Hey guys, what's up? I watched Sound of Metal last night, and I'm very happy to say we've had a winner in this marathon I've been doing for this video. Sound of Metal was superbly good. It was so fucking good. I gave it 5 stars, which is pretty hard to get from me. I don't think it has to be perfect, but it has to be pretty close to perfect. Generally, I was correct about what it was about, but like there was a few details that were wrong. So I kind of thought it was about the process of this guy who I knew was a drummer from like when it was Oscar nominated. They would show that, you know, like really brief sequence of him drumming. So I knew he was like a drummer of some sorts. I thought it was going to be about his progression with losing his hearing. So like him kind of over time losing his hearing, which is really not what happens. So he is a drummer in a metal band and he loses his hearing rapidly. It's like almost immediate. And so it's him coping with becoming a deaf person. There's just a few things that I really want to hit on because this movie is so fucking good. There's a few trigger warnings, like nothing graphic ever happens, but there are some discussions that I think you might want to look at. The main character, Ruben, is a previous drug addict, and there's other drug addicts in the story. There's no depiction of drugs. You don't see any drugs, but it's discussed a lot. So I would just make sure you're comfortable watching it before you watch it, but I think everything is handled quite delicately and nothing is aggressive in any sense. So Sound of Metal is a brilliant title for a few reasons. So one reason is he's in a metal band, and then metal as in like drums, like there's metal on a drum set. And I kind of think there maybe is like a third meaning. I don't even know how to word this, but I feel like there's a metaphor in there, deafness, like what deafness sounds like. And I just thought of another one. There's discussion about cochlear implants. That is like putting literal metal in your head, so it's the ability to potentially hear again. So that's like also the sound of metal. So I think this title is so brilliant because there's so many different ways to interpret it, and I think they all work together. Like one doesn't disprove the other. So what this movie is about, relationships and the people we love, but also there obviously is this huge component of the deaf community and what being deaf is like and coping with disabilities and viewing these disabilities as a strength instead of weakness. So it's him dealing with his diagnosis and his quickly deteriorating hearing and his previous addiction. Riz Ahmed, the person who plays Ruben, is so fucking good, bro. He's so good. The sound design in this movie, holy fucking shit. I've never seen sound design like this movie because it constantly switches between what it's like for a hearing person and what it's like for a deaf person so seamlessly. I can't even talk about it. If I haven't said it enough, I implore you to go watch it. So that was day 5, I believe. I suppose it's time to spin that wheel, isn't it? Spinning. Ooh, Pulp Fiction, a classic. It's finally time. Sorry for the cops in the background. But Pulp Fiction's another good one. It's a classic where it's like any self-respecting person who thinks they like film, this is like one of those ones I really need to see. So this is perfect. Today's Pulp Fiction. Hi! So, long time no see. So, I have kind of failed this challenge of watching 7 movies in 7 days. When I went to go watch Pulp Fiction, it had been after me working 2 weeks in a row of around like 50 hours a week. And so I had like started trying to watch Pulp Fiction, like I swear, I literally started trying to watch it. And I got to the second Samuel L. Jackson monologue, and I'm gonna like reenact what it looked like when I was like trying to watch it. It was like, okay, POV 11 p.m. and you're trying to watch Pulp Fiction. That's what it was like. It's like my brain could not comprehend even the simplest of sentences. I just could not do it. I was having such a hard time, and so I went to sleep because like I didn't want to do that movie or any movie the disjustice of not giving it my full attention because I felt like that'd be really unfair. So I didn't watch it. So it's been a little bit of time, and I figured I'd just be honest instead of pretending like I did it all in 1 week because I didn't, and I just couldn't. But on that note, I did watch Pulp Fiction last night, and this is gonna hurt a lot of the film people because I truly did not like this movie. This movie actually gave me a little bit of trauma. This is the second movie where I'm gonna give you the warning right now. There's trigger warnings. So there is sexual assault in this movie, and it is graphic and shown. Like they don't just allude to it as a woman, especially as like a 20-year-old woman. That is like a huge fear for me, and so like watching it is like very traumatic and very traumatizing to me, and that just immediately like turned me off from it. This movie is kind of split into I think 3 different sections, and they all relate to each other, but they're all like kind of different stories. If you've ever seen The French Dispatch, how that's like different stories put into one movie, it's like that. And arguably the one, I think this is a fairly common opinion, the one where the sexual assault occurs is the weakest section. The movie does have a lot of gore, but I've watched other things with gore, like that itself doesn't really like bother me, but just like any depiction of sexual assault is like really, really too much for me. Alluding to it is, I think, a much better way of doing it, because I think you still get your point across without like terrifying people. I guess like a little background on Pulp Fiction. I don't know that much. It's Quentin Tarantino, who you may or may not have heard of. If you haven't heard of him, that's totally okay. He just won some Oscars for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is also on the wheel. I think this is my first Tarantino, if I'm not wrong. I could be wrong, but I think this is my first Tarantino, so my expectations were pretty high. I don't know. The screenplay is written by Quentin Tarantino, and he won the Oscar for it. And I get that because I could see how this like form of storytelling, like the splitting it up into 3 sections and then like weaving them, could be like really crazy. Quentin Tarantino also acts in it, and I must say his acting was much better than I expected. Now, my biggest issues with this movie and why I ultimately gave it 1 star was the sexual assault and also the use of the N-word in this movie. So obviously it's discourse around race and gender and sexuality and these political topics was different than it is now, but it is just like super disconcerting, all the racism in this movie. So the use of the N-word, which by black people, no comments, but the amount of white people using the N-word, and not even just using the N-word, but using it towards black people and black people not reacting to it or being upset by it, was really upsetting. And the fact that Quentin Tarantino, the director, says it 4 times within like 1 minute to Samuel L. Jackson, I was like, what is happening? I also know so many people are gonna come at me in my comments, and I'm totally open to discussion on this movie, but I just would ask you to be kind. And I could see people already saying, oh, Tarantino did this, it's satire, it's blah 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 blah, but that doesn't dissuade or take away from other people's interpretations, such as my own, of what is depicted in this movie, because it's still upsetting. It's still upsetting. My favorite like section, which is really popular, is between Uma Thurman and John Travolta, where there's the really iconic scene of John Travolta and Uma Thurman dancing, which was so much like shorter and less of a plot point than I wish it was, because it is really cool and really iconic. And I also love that John Travolta will like absolutely get down in a dance scene. So I guess like what I've learned from this week of watching videos so far is that what I expect of movies is really not what happens, especially when I do no background research and all my information is from like niche hearings on the internet and maybe watching the trailer. I don't know if I have anything else to say. I didn't think I was going to talk about each movie I watched as much as I have been. Pulp Fiction is a cult classic, like there's no doubt in that. That's why it was on my list, is because I've heard so much about it and how good it's supposed to be. There's one more day of this. I will be watching whatever movie I get on the wheel tonight. That will be number 7. This video has like taken a lot more energy than I expected. So many movies that like I guarantee I wouldn't have gotten to for years. So I really do like this idea. I'm also gonna make a list on Letterboxd of every movie I watched in this video, just in case anybody watching this wants to watch the movies I watched, or maybe have their own little movie marathon with these. I've had this tab open for like a really long time because I didn't want to refill in any of the names on my wheel. Spin that wheel. Love and Other Drugs. I don't even know, can't even think of what that is. Love and Other Drugs. Oh, okay. I don't know. Oh, I do remember adding this now that I've seen it. This is a rom-com between Anne Hathaway and Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't have like clear memories of adding this, but I do think I added this really recently. I like remember seeing it and people being like, oh, this is so underrated, like nobody talks about this rom-com. So I think this is a good one to end on, because I feel like this movie has been full of really fucking heavy movies, so I'm happy to end with this one. I will check in with you during or maybe after the movie. We'll see. Ciao, bella. Hi. So guys, great news. I finished this challenge that I have bestowed upon myself. So I just watched Love and Other Drugs. The joke of the title is Jake Gyllenhaal's character is a pharmaceutical rep. So he sells drugs basically. He's a glorified drug dealer. And Anne Hathaway, it's a bit of a tongue twister, and Anne Hathaway's character has early onset Parkinson's disease. She's like 26 or something, and she already has stage 1 Parkinson's disease. It's about Jake Gyllenhaal's character not knowing what he wants to do with his life and like not feeling like he's enough for anybody, and particularly his family. Anne Hathaway's character being scared of commitment because she has a really scary disease. So this movie's like, okay. It's like a super 2010 rom-com. It checks all the boxes. It's like a little bit offensive, a little bit too horny. Like, you're gonna have a good time the whole time watching it, but like it ends with like very little to no substance. But it was like a good one to end on, especially after watching Pulp Fiction. Like, what a jump from Pulp Fiction to Love and Other Drugs. I gave it 2.5 stars. I realized I haven't really been telling you my Letterboxd reviews. My review says, Richard! Richard! Where is she? And you'll only get that if you watch the movie. I just... wow. What a journey this has been. Thank you for watching this video. I don't know how long it is, potentially kind of long. I know it's been all over the place, but you know, it's my first time dipping a toe into this genre of making movie videos. My first one, my Top Gun video, I could cry with how happy I am by the response to it. I've never had as much engagement on a video as I've gotten on this Top Gun video. I'm literally so stoked, and so many kind, insightful comments that I've been like discussing things that I had questions about or pointing out information they knew about the movie. So if anybody is here from that video or commented on that video, thank you so much. So I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope it was fun. I hope it has inspired you to maybe use a magic little wheel or to watch a movie that's been on your watch list for forever. And if you do, please let me know in the comments. I want to talk about it. Bye. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, love, and happiness. Mwah.